Yeah, I was gonna plan to actually make this video, but our client's having so many 1K days, and I just got my computer, went to the office, and just press record. I'm not gonna make an intro or anything. I'm just gonna go straight to it. But if you guys are new and you don't know what I do or who I am and why you should listen to this Asian guy on the screen, I'm just gonna show you some of the brands that we work with. If not, do your due diligence on your Instagram. My client Adam Michelle went from 1K to 33K a month. All right, right now we're at 50K. Jamal went from 5K to 40K a month in 2 months working with us. Society from 15K a month to 60K a month in 3 months. Jason, owner of Flower, from inconsistent 30 to 100 to consistent 100K months. Again, just some reasons why you should listen to me. We've been doing this, well, I've been doing this for a very, very long time, okay? You can stop, go over, okay, there's thousands of results, do your due diligence on Instagram, 1K days, and the reason why I want to specifically mention 1K days is because that's 30K a month in terms of gross revenue, in terms of where you're trying to go, and people overcomplicate this and they deem this number to be so big and so hard to achieve. But I would argue it's very simple. It's simple if you know what it is required to get there. So I'm going to go over exact step-by-step processes and what you need to focus on as a clothing brand owner, as a clothing brand operator, right? Because to hit 1K day on ads, it isn't just about ads, unfortunately, right? There are a lot of external factors that make the specific ad successful because people think and they have this mindset of where if they want to scale to 1K day, they just need to hire this agency or they need to just research on ads. But ads these days is look at it as like a one piece of the puzzle, right? Just because you have good ingredients but you don't have the right equipment for the cooking, I'm just making this up as an example, then you're not going to succeed because to make a good dish, you need the combination of number one, the skills set as a chef, right? A Michelin star chef. Number two, you need the best organic and fresh ingredients, right? That's what I like to look at the ads. And third, you need the equipment and the facilities to actually input the actual dish itself. So there's multiple components to it, and I look at it the same way because when people talk about these videos 0 to 1K, you again, if you've stumbled upon this video, you might be familiar with a lot of these people just going about campaign structure. Like we will go over that on our video too. Like we're gonna go over a lot, but I want to make very clear that just because you focus on the ads doesn't mean you're going to get your clothing brand ad successful, right? This is specifically for clothing brand owners. So with that being said, let's go straight to it. The first thing that we need to focus on is what I like to call the unit economics, right? This is basically just the logistics of does your brand even have the margins? Does your brand even have dollar cost per average and the average order value to even scale to 1K a day? Does it even have the potential to even scale to 30K a day? 30K a month, sorry. Because the thing is, and again, there's a lot of things when it comes to unit economics. Like we have a whole SOP, like 30 doc SOP around this. But for the sake of this video, I'm just gonna break down to three most important ones that you need to establish before you run ads. Okay, I'm talking about specifically for Meta ads slash Facebook ads or whatever you want to call it. Number one is you need to work out your break-even return of ad spend, right? Your break-even return of ads. I see so many brand owners go into ads without working this out. And I'm like, how do you know your ads are profitable? It says, oh, I've spent. No, you need to work out your return of ad spend because that is one of the key metrics that you'll be working on inside the ad account to improve how when you know to scale. It's basically a decision factor, right? Okay, the easiest way to work out your break-even ROAS is just go to this website. It's just the product selling price, add the product cost, and it will calculate the break-even return of ad spend for you specifically. For example, if your product selling price is 100 and it costs $20 to make the product, that means your break-even return of ad spend is 1.25 specifically, right? My recommendation for your B ROAS, because I will get into what a T ROAS is, all right, is anywhere from, again, lower the better if you have good margins because we can scale more aggressively specifically, right? But anywhere from around 1.2 to I wouldn't try and go above 1.7. 1 point, yeah, I've had some brands where we get closer to, but try and stick it to 1.8 because the thing is how we calculate target ROAS. This is a return of ads but measuring we set before we run ads to anywhere from 0.5 plus 1 to the break-even return of ad spend. For example, let's just say we use this example here. Our break-even return of ad spend is 1.25. That means our target return of ad spend is 1.75 to 2.25. What target return of ad spend will do is determining the specific return of ad spend we will use to actually scale the budget or scale horizontally, right? Determining if the ad is good. We always want to step this because when we go and scale to 1K a day, which in my opinion, is still very small. Every single decision we make, we want to make the decision in the outcome by looking at the numbers and not your emotion. Just because you get 5 sales a day and then you're all happy and then you make decisions, then that's where it starts to get fluctuation. Again, fluctuation happens at the ad account, especially if you're spending less than $1,000 a day, right, on ad spend alone, right? But I'm just talking retrospectively, and then obviously your average order value, which I'm not going to go too much into detail on how to increase it. Just comment down below if you guys want a video on that. I can explain on how to do it. But average order value is important. If you guys don't know what an average order value is, like, what are you doing if you own a brand? It's basically just, think about it like this, right? What's the average order value? Okay, how much does it cost per sale on average, right? Is that $70? Is that $100? Whatever it is. The bigger the average order value that I've seen, especially for a small brand that's trying to scale to the first consistent 1K a day, the better it is. Because, for example, right, if we have a $20 a day in ad spend, and then we have an average order value of $20, that means, we need to have at least 1 sale a day, right, to even hit break-even return of ad spend. Whereas if our average order value is $100 and our daily spend is $20, even if we get 1 sale, right, through that same purchasing power through one customer, 1 day is 5x return of ad spend, right? You see the difference. Everything is different between your AOV, and I want to make very clear, AOV isn't just because of your actual product price specific. Just because you sell a $20 hoodie, $100 hoodie, $20 stock, it's not the average of that. It's quite frankly, once your customer shops, what's the spend? Because your customers might spend the money on the hoodie and the socks together, which means on average order value is $120. So it's our goal to actually increase that, and the higher your AOV in your spend per customer, first per purchase customers, the better we've actually seen the whole metric when it comes to scalability, so we can scale it as fast as we can, right? But yeah, you can increase this through your upsell, cross-sell, etc. Now, once we get that, I'm not going to go too much into logistics and operation. Obviously, your stock, the amount of stock, do you even have stock to actually scale to 1K a day? The time you have to spend on the brand, because I know some clients that we work with, they don't do this full time. They have 9-to-5 jobs, and it's sometimes unmanageable to scale to 1K a day. And your manufacturers, what's the shipping time, the delays, all that type of stuff. I'm not going too much into that, but you need to sort that out ASAP, right? Now, the third thing, which I think is probably one of the most important aspects, and people like the word scaling, but 90% of the brands I talk to, they don't even deserve to scale because how shit their fucking brand is, right? The number one thing that I had to look for when it comes to branding, again, you can talk about Virgil Abloh and how to brand and all that type of stuff. If you look at these brands like Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Acne Studio, like, they're great branding. But the number one thing, especially for small brands, is controlling how your brand is perceived in the lens of your customers and your ideal customer profile. Now, the reason why this is important, especially for an e-com brand, you have to realize, number one, no one knows who you are as a brand, right? No one knows who you. If you look at a Louis Vuitton ad, everybody knows. If you see an ad from Louis Vuitton, let's just say it's just selling a T-shirt, and you know it's from Louis Vuitton, in your head already, you already think the price is going to be extremely expensive because of perceived value that you have within the association between the brand and product, right? That's the same thing when it comes to branding. And that is super important because when someone enters your brand ecosystem, we want to match the price of your products towards this perceived value, because the only way your customers are going to spend money towards you and sacrificing their time and money and giving that to you to buy your product is if they think it's worth it, if they think that they're actually getting the most value out of it compared to you, right? And I want to give you this example because I was talking to a client the other day who had an excellent brand, right, and had an excellent start to running ads, but was struggling to scale to the 1K a day, right? Keep in mind, he didn't know anything about ads, and obviously we're fucking crushing it right now, but everybody can be profitable. If you, for example, if you go and run ads for brands like Balenciaga, Louis Vuitton, Acne Studio, you open up the ad account, and let's just say you didn't know anything about ad account, campaign structure, or anything in terms of Facebook ads, I can guarantee you put a random creative in and you put a budget in, you're going to be insanely fucking profitable because that's the brand that they built. And I want you to realize that, because profiting at the start has largely to do with the actual brand that you built, obviously a bit of media buying, but scaling has everything to do with media buying. Does that make sense? And I think that's not what many people preach out on the internet as well, because I see so many people think ads as a solution, but quite frankly, it's not, right? So Firstly, branding, controlling the perceived value as a brand, trying to increase that. The second thing, you'll build trust here as well, right? Obviously, you want to buy from known brands. If I go to, for example, one of my favorite brands, Acne Studio, or Needles and Nepenthes, it's a streetwear brand. Like, I don't need to do my due diligence. I already know the brand. The trust is already there, right? And product. And the third thing is, I think this is an underrated one, is your product needs to equate value towards your specific ICP. And this is a great example. I was talking to my client the other day, Riley. He had a amazing product, but in his messaging, in his marketing, he was talking to someone else. And that's the same thing as you can sell the most amazing tacos in the world. But if you're targeting people who likes pasta, it's not going to fucking matter, right? Whereas if you flip that and you sell mediocre to kind of bad tacos, but you're targeting people who really fucking love tacos, they're still more likely to buy. And that's the thing that I need you to understand, because your product needs to equate value to your ICP, right? For example, again, I'm just using Acne Studio and Balenciaga as an example because those are just the brands that are on my mind right now, right? But if you go and say to a guy that hikes and doesn't care about name brands, doesn't care about status at all, right? Doesn't really care about that, but only cares about functionality, he would think I'm fucking crazy for spending $2,000 on a fucking jacket that had no functionality and just for a name, Whereas if you maybe go to a 20-year-old, right, who wants that premium branding, then it makes sense. So that's another underrated thing when you need to brand as well. Parking is about, we have whole SOPs for that with our clients because it is so important. Nobody really talks about this. The second last thing when it comes to branding is direct or indirect solution. You need to be very specific and choose one side. Your brand and product either serves a specific direct solution towards your ICP or a indirect solution to your ICP. Now, I'm not going to get too much into it because we have a lot to go when it comes to this, okay? But a direct solution is, it's like, for example, if you had let's just say let's talk about hiking, and then it rains all the time in hiking, right? We sell jackets that are specific waterproof and it still doesn't make you sweat and you can wear it everywhere. That's a direct solution to a direct problem that an ICP might face. That's a direct solution, right? An indirect solution is psychologically, right? Emotional skews, right? For example, people don't pay $10,000 for a Louis Vuitton bag because the bag's that fucking good, right? The value for that is status, right? Stuff like that. Now, that's the thing that you need to work out, because in your branding and the content gap, right, you have to choose a direction where you want to go to, right? And the last thing is single drop or a collection drop. Like, what type of brand are you? Are you going to focus on a single drop? Are you going to focus on a collection drop? Because the thing is, again, this matters directly to the campaign structure. And again, I'm going to go through our campaign structure, but you guys will realize that there is no secret structure that you can just copy and paste that will blow up your brand. You need to have an understanding of all of this, because this isn't 2018 anymore. This isn't 2020 anymore, where you can just put a random ad and profit, right? I always say, what is that different to gambling? It's not, right? You need to understand these core components, because if you have a good brand, again, I can't stress this enough, right? Everybody can be profitable for Balenciaga. Right? If you run $50 a day on an ad budget and you put a random content that the owner of Balenciaga gives you, I guarantee you're going to be profitable. I don't guarantee you're going to scale because you don't know what to do, but I guarantee you're going to be profitable. And that's the power of branding. Okay? Fourth is organic marketing. Now, organic marketing is so key component to running successful ads and scaling to 1K a day, because Meta ads isn't going to be very good at targeting, or what we've seen from our experience is targeting top of funnel, middle of funnel, bottom of funnel. We actually use organic marketing and then boosting post strategy, which I'm not going to go too into, which is an absolute fucking cheat code to growing your followers and views. We have SOPs for all that with our clients, but organic marketing, we actually use that for our top of funnel content, because what we've seen when we onboard new brands is, if they have a good organic community already built, running ads and scaling to 1K a day is just simply just media buying your way out, right? Whereas if you don't have a good organic marketing, meaning your accounts reach is low, your content is shit, your positioning is bad, and you don't get many views or comments and stuff like that, like the organic KPIs are bad, that means your top of funnel is bad. Because the thing is, right, if you have a good organic marketing and you've never ran ads before, it's meta ads specifically, not boosting posts, because those are two completely different things, and you run meta ads, is going to sort of act and target the low-hanging fruits. And when you build up such a good community and you just do organic, you don't have the ability to target those low-hanging fruits specifically. And that's why if you look at these big brands, that we've tried in the past, it's like these case studies that we do, like Cat from 15K to $63,000 a month. Okay, you can check the testimonials down in the YouTube video. The reason why we're able to scale in 2 months is because she already had an existing foundation with organic marketing. And there's a couple of things when it comes to this, 4 things that I've seen. Okay, number one is your existing funnel. The number one thing that you don't want to do when it comes to organic marketing is just focus on quality content, because number one, that costs money, and if you want to spend money on your brand, you want to make sure you have the right intent to it. And number two is to never post without intent, because if you're just posting just for the sake of posting, it's like shooting a bow and arrow in the dark and hoping it hits its target. I always say this to my clients, right? You want to understand funnels, and funnels are basically how you can guide your customers throughout the buyer's journey to eventually convert, trust, and buy from you again, right? That's why there's a whole funnel, from top of funnel content, middle of funnel content, bottom of funnel content ideation system, right? When it comes to organic marketing, because you need to guide your customers throughout your whole buyer's journey. How you do that, it's not DMing your customers, it's not getting your phone and saying, hey, buy my product. No, it's you guide them through specific content deliverables, because each specific organic content has different stuff. Okay, if you're stuck with this, I have a 40-minute video. It's kind of like a free course, low key, on my YouTube channel. Find it. I might put in the link, I don't know. Okay, the second thing you want to prioritize is accounts reach. That is a great KPI that we like to look for. If you go on like your Instagram profile feed, you can see it. At least for us, I know some accounts are different because some accounts like brand new and they switch it up. But the main one, there's an accounts reach below your followers, and that's a great indicator. We try to aim for like 200,000 to close to 1 million when it comes to accounts reached, right? Third thing is we want to make sure, again, accounts reach is a factor, but one of the biggest factors that we'd like to look for is already an existing community, right? People that actually fuck with you, right? If you don't get people in your DMs, right, look, asking you for when is this dropping, what's the size, how much, if you don't see people saving the post, sharing the post, commenting on the post, your organic marketing in the community that you build is fucked, right? It's not working, right? You need to reverse engineer that and do it again, because obviously the stuff you're doing is not working, because every single one of our clients have this. Fucking people reach out to them, right? People comment on them, right? That's why we're able to, this video is about 0 to 1K a day on ads, and I haven't even fucking gone to ads yet, right? This is why it's so, and I get passionate about this because it's so important when you're scaling, right? Because all of this builds to trust at the end of the day, right? So that's organic marketing, right? After this, what are we on? This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now after this, we want to go into building an organic content pipeline, and there's 3 things that we want to focus on, right? The cost of it, right? We want to be manageable when it comes to hiring directors, creatives, and everything, right? Number 2, making sure we can manage the volume, right? Because again, volume is very important once you have something that is working, right? Third is quality, but the main thing is intent, right? Because volume is nothing without understanding how to guide your customers the right way, right? So after you have the frameworks and you understand the brand and your getting active community, that's when I will go into building an organic content pipeline, thinking about how can I produce more of it, right? What is a framework that has been existing working, my new drops, right? Making a pre-drop launch sequence from a VSL, UGC content, CTAs, all that type of stuff. That's what I mean by organic content pipeline, okay? And those 2 are what I ideally want to be established. You can kind of skip this and go to the ad content pipeline instead as well. The reason why I put the organic, I don't like this color. There we go. The reason why I put the organic content pipeline first is because usually when people kind of find the groove and has an existing funnel, we like to double down on it quick as possible before we get to ads, because we're generating cash flow. And the good thing with organic is we didn't pay a single dime. Obviously, I didn't mention the boosting post strategy that me and my clients use, but I feel like that's a video for another time, okay? So you can go straight to building an ad content pipeline. Now for this, right, before we go into making a pixel, before we go into making an ad account, we actually go into making content, because the creatives of to hit 1K a day, which is kind of the whole point of this video, you guys watching, you want to hit 1K a day, 85%, 88% actually, is going to be dependent on the type of content that you produce, right? And there are 3 things, well, there are actually a lot of things, but 3 things that I like to look for when you're building winning content. Number 1 is angles, right? Angles are basically marketing points, right? For example, if I if I was selling this watch, this Cartier watch, right? Let's just say it wasn't Cartier, right? And then I was selling to high level consultants who work a corporate job, right? Then why do they need this watch, right? To know the time, to make sure they never miss a meeting, to gain status, right? Whereas if I was selling this watch to small kids who just want to know what the fuck the time is because they don't have a phone, right? Then I want to position as more for the kids, as in using their languages, right? Again, kind of think of examples as I go, right? That's what I mean by angles, because you can sell the same products, but using different languages to speak to different ICPs, and that's what I mean by angles. Formats are definitely different types of content formats that we've seen. So, for example, POV videos, get ready with me's, comparison, static ads, all those type of stuff, right? Verticals are different sort of, it's a formal format, but it's a vertical with a niche. For example, right, a vertical of a format of, let's just say, a POV video could be a POV UGC. UGC is a vertical, right? A static is a vertical, right? So those are the three things that I like to look for when it comes to ad content pipeline. Trying to build that out, because at the end of the day, we want to have like 3x of the angles, 3x of the format, 3x of the vertical, so we can actually, when it get to media buying, we can actually test properly, right? Again, three things. I say this every single time. Volume, making sure we can produce enough creatives. Again, this shouldn't be a worry for 1K a day, because you don't need like a factory of, guys you hire from Upwork to make your statics just yet. It's only 1K a day. A second thing is quality control, making sure if you are focused on the volume of the content, make sure it is the right quality as well. Okay, and number three is intent. We don't want to be just looking at, random fucking competitors' Facebook's account or Instagram and just copy their ideas. Like, obviously you can, but that's a format. If you don't understand angles, then you can't make the right formats. Angles are number one, because once you understand the angle, you're going to get format ideas, right? That's just a straight of it. And that's why I like to go these three angles first. Okay, now after organic content pipeline, we go into media buying. So three things is obviously campaign structure, KPI setup, and settings and control. Okay, and after this, we have our scaling procedure. Okay, I'm actually going to go through the scaling procedure first, because I'm going to just show you our media buying campaign structure to actually hit 1K a day. But scaling procedure, it's a very long process to actually scale. Okay, so what scaling procedure is, it's basically analyzing the right KPIs to make the right decision. That's it is. That's all it is, right? Because you can never just put a really good creative in and then you just expect it to hit. Because I see so many people doing that, and they wonder why they're not making the money they want with the brand, right? Number two, testing the right way. I see so many people say, oh, when does the testing phase end? You are forever going to test, my friend, forever, all right? Three, improving the ad account. That's all it is. Fourth, understanding what creatives can be iterated and what creatives can be tested. You will get a better understanding of this if you know the scaling procedures and you know what numbers you need to look for, which is why if we go back to here, we need to set up our unit economics right, because the ROAS, which is the main primary KPI to determine if the ad is good or bad, especially at our scale, right, is going to make our decisions at the end of the day, right? And vertically versus horizontally scaling, those are going to be your two best friends when you actually scale into 1K a day, okay? I made a video about this, so I'm not going to go too much into detail, right? But that is a terrible error. My apologies for that. Okay, let me redo that again, okay? Vertical scaling is basically just scaling through budget, because if you have one campaign, you're not actually horizontally scaling by making multiple campaigns. You're just using the same campaign and just upping the budget. So nothing changes except for the amount of volume that it goes through one campaign. Now, horizontal scaling is this way. So you're having more campaigns. So for example, if you have a campaign that's spending $30 a day, okay, I don't have my mouse with me, so that's my excuse for running terribly. But if you have a $30 campaign, right, and then you scale horizontally, right, so your second campaign, then that's $60, right? Whereas if you're vertically scaling, just depending on what percentage you scale, that kind of depends on your budget, the AOV, and obviously your return of ad spend, right? From 10% to 20% to 25%, right? Generally, right? It compounds more. So horizontally is faster, vertically less risk, vice versa, right? So that's kind of the scaling strategies we use to hit 1K a day. Because the thing is, right? Think about it, right? 1K a day in gross revenue, right? I'm actually going to type this, okay? Because this is a thing that I want you to understand. 1K a day right? You got to think about how much I need to spend, because this is how I like to look at things when I'm actually scaling, right? How much do I need to spend a day, right, to hit that while hitting my primary target ROAS? For example, if my target return of ad spend is 3x ROAS and my break even, okay, let's just go from the start. Okay, let's just say my break even return of ad spend is 1.7, the very worst, right? I'm sure yours would be better, right? And then you have a target ROAS of 2.7, so let's just say 3x for this example, right? That means if we need to hit our target ROAS and we're hitting it, right, we just need to spend $333 a day to hit 1K a day while maintaining target ROAS. That's it. So logically speaking, right, when we're horizontally and vertically scaling, this is a budget that we want to have in mind to hit this while maintaining our ROAS. And that's the exact reason why we look at the unit economics first before we do this, right? Because fuck the 1K a day. Think about, what do I need to do to, number one, maintain return of ad spend? Especially it's good because if you're spending $20 a day and you're getting $60 back, now you need to think about how you can scale that, right, to $333 a day, right, to that, because what that's going to do is same budget, it's going to get to 1K a day. That's all it is. It's just scaling $333 a day. How can I get my budget to that, right? You can either do that through multiple campaigns, ad sets, or the same campaign vertically, right? I hope that kind of makes sense in a very simple manner, okay? If you have any questions as well, I know some stuff I went really high level when it comes to branding, just my DMs are open. Happy to send you voice memos personally from me to help you out as well, okay? Now, media buying, campaign structure, KPI setups, settings, and control, okay? Let's go into the actual campaign structure, okay? So this is sort of what I've been running personally. Again, like there's nothing wrong or right with this. This is sort of what I've seen working across all our clothing brands in 2026 this year. This is July, okay? What I've been running, especially I'm talking from a generic 0 to 1K a day, right? Is setting up an ABO split CBO campaign, right? So we actually have 2x campaign, okay? And then ABO campaign, right? We have our individual high-level video creatives that we know that can convert, right? So for example, UGC, I have a mic here, so hopefully it's not fucked. UGC content that needs to, let me actually spread this apart. UGC content that needs to get spent, right? You can kind of look at this as an AAC campaign where before you actually have the winning campaigns or whatever, but we don't do that anymore. So you can have an ABO, right, campaign, right? Actually, let me put this. ABO campaign. UGC content that needs to get spent, and then we have a CBO for statics, right? So that's how we actually split it, right? And I'm just talking generally about again, I'm just talking about one specific product, because the thing is, if you drop in collections, let's just say you have 5 products and you have 3 winners, that means if we put everything in one CBO and the CBO starts to spend on one thing, right, one product individually, that means your 2 other products that are doing really well organically are not going to spend. So in that instance, we would have to switch it up, right, to a CBO split between products, but still have the same core concepts of testing static. The reason why I split the UGC videos towards a static to a CBO is because if you put these all in the same one, videos are going to get spent more because it's going to have a higher CTR, it's going to have a better secondary KPI and a better hit rate, meaning the statics are not going to get tested. But the thing is, if we don't test statics, we can't validate our UGC ideas, right? So this is sort of the format we've been ripping with, right? Budget, again, I see so many people, how many budget do I need? Like, we've had clients that started with us with $5,000 a month in budget. We've had clients that also started with us with $200 a month in budget. It doesn't really fucking matter in my opinion, right? Because at the end of the day, the first things first, when you're actually starting ads, is to profit, right? Profiting in the definition is, even in August you start running ads, you spend $100, you get $300 back. That's profiting. It doesn't fucking matter. But scaling, you need cash to make more cash. But the thing with scaling is you can use the cash you gain from profit to put back into the ads to work. So this is kind of the campaign structure we've been running. And individually, right, we would vertically scale up to around total sum ad account spend of like $100 a day, right? And then what you can horizontally scale is iterations to see what's working from static and UGC, Okay, and that's all it is. It's a very simple setup between how we do it. So CBO split between products because I mean most of you guys might have more than one winning evergreen product, and then ABO specifically going high level over UGC. But the thing is, you need to separate it, and the reason why I do an ABO is because if you add new UGCs from validation of a CBO, it's going to get spent separately, which is the thing we want. But with CBO, right, we can go high volume with quality intent, and this is why we need to build an ad pipeline. Okay. Hope that kind of makes sense. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a message on Instagram, okay? If you're kind of stuck and you're like, what the fuck, what do I do with ads? I know I have a good product. I'm going to put a link in bio as well to book a call with me specifically, okay? Feel free to ask any question. That's where I sort of audit the brand, see where you are, see what the bottleneck is, see if it's the right fit, and then if it is, it is. Simple as that, we start working, right? If you have any questions, again, message me on Instagram. And I always say, if you don't take anything valuable and you don't actually implement, then you just wasted 30 minutes watching this shit for no reason, okay? Hope you guys have a good day.